All right, I got a fun one for you today. So one of the things that I've been trying to automate for a long time, and I think I've finally been able to do it now with GPT-5, is auto-generating images based on the content of blog posts, articles, page content, whatever. The idea being you just sort of paste in the content of the page, the text on the page, and then it creates images that go along with headings at logical separation. So like 3 images per post, divide the post up into 3 parts, find a heading nearby, associate the imagery, make it evocative of whatever it is that the theme of that section is that's closest to the image. That would be the idea. And then to be able to do that eventually in an automation. So I did the first step of that, and I think I've got it working pretty convincingly well. So I came up with this prompt. I'll walk you through. It's fairly long. And at the bottom of the prompt, there's an article that we're going to paste in, right? And this could be any article, but I've gotten one from one of my clients, and I pasted it in here. I like to set variables, something I picked up from Interest Empire on X about a year ago, that you can just use the space above your prompt basically to set variables that you'll then use throughout your prompt. So in this case, I've set in, as in the number of images that we want to have, to 3, and the style I've put here, because I'm going to reference these things multiple times throughout, and this is an easy way to put them in one place to make sure I check all of those boxes at the beginning, and then have the AI figure out that I'm intending for it to swap those for the placeholders that look like this. Highly recommend trying that out. It really simplifies building structured prompts. So I set a couple of variables at the top, and then this is the actual prompt. You are an image prompt generator, given an article, title, summary, or full text. Produce JSON prompts, not actually images, just the prompt text itself, for n number of images that share a consistent visual theme. Your goal is to return only valid JSON, no commentary. Each item must follow this exact schema. And then I've given an example of how I want it to fill it out with all these different fields and so forth. And inside of that, it references the style variable that I set up here. So what that allows me to do is actually to control, rather than to have AI kind of guess what the style of the images should be. I will actually usually want to input my own. I want these to be cartoony, I want these to be hyper-realistic photo-like, and so on. And so that gives you the ability to do the same just by setting this right here. And then if you've ever heard me talk about JSON prompting before, that's what we're doing here, is we're using a bit of code to tell the AI and the AI image generator in a moment what kind of image and specifically how we want it to be constructed, which is a better way to do it than just writing it out in a paragraph. It understands this sort of bullet pointed list, key and value pairing better, and is more likely to follow your instructions if you do it this way. So I like to break that into the background of the image has a starry night sky, the foreground of an image has a rocket ship blasting off, so that there's 2 different layers to every image, and you could make up whatever variables you wanted, but this pattern works pretty well for me. And then the other requirements that we have, these are sort of the constraints. Usually you would say like role, goal, inputs, and constraints is a good AI prompting framework. So right now we're kind of in the constraints category. We want these to be realistic images, choose everyday or easily renderable scenes, avoid abstract metaphors or complex symbolism. That's my preference. You might want to tweak that. If you can also leave it out if you just want to let the AI kind of guess what would be right in that circumstance. Don't explain metaphors, imply the idea via concrete objects, environments, and actions. This is because if you've ever tried to do image prompt generation, like not prompting for an image, but prompting for a prompt, you'll know that it's very verbose, and it tries to explain the scene by talking about like the thoughts and feelings and what it means and stuff, which is not useful for image generation. It's just wasted tokens. So instead, we just wanted to focus on concrete metaphors, things in the image which can actually evoke some kind of similarity that the image generator will understand. Use concise, information-dense phrases, no run-on sentences, prefer nouns and concrete objects, and then avoid brand logos, readable signage, house numbers, UI text, and legible documents inside the image because it doesn't usually render them very well, and you'll pick up some kind of weird artifacts that kind of simplify it and skip all that stuff. And then if people okay is false, which is one of the variables we set at the top, or it can be, right? You can have a true or a false, then hide the people a little bit, basically cover their faces, no identifiable human characteristics is going to be likely to look weird in an AI photo. So it might just be like a hand or someone out of the image or cropped out of it entirely or just over their shoulder or something like that. Favor natural light and practical effects. No heavy CGI cues. So that just helps it not look fake, right? And if locale or season is provided, another variable we can set at the top, then reflect that subtly and background details. Otherwise, it's going to take a guess as to what would be right. And then if brand colors hex is provided, reflect those as hues and colors to be used. No flat washes, but just like elements and accents throughout the image. And some guidelines for, remember, this isn't generating the image, it's generating the prompt. So these are instructions on the text for creating the prompt, like keep it short, be in this particular format. And then some constraints around the output, return an array. And each element is one JSON object matching the schema that we gave above, that example of the code up here, right? No markdown, no extra keys, no trailing commas. Don't give us any BS with that. Just give us the JSON, which will be useful when we build this into an automation at some point. And then here are a little bit of tweaks around those instructions. Read the following article, break it into in logical numbers, which I've already set to 3, by length, but adjusting to begin and end at certain headings. So it'll be, the image will go along with the heading. And then to produce 3 images by assessing the topic and themes of each section, selecting the predominant focus, and developing a prompt for an image designed to evoke similar themes. Abstract metaphors are best. Simple visuals are also ideal. It is not necessary to convey or reference all the points of the section in the image, but merely to produce a prompt for an image that subtly references the main focus of that section. And then we paste in our article. So let's see what it generates when we hit go. So here we go. So this will be 1. This is how you know you're getting an array. So there's your opening of the array and the closing of the array at the end. Each one of these is then one of the objects, and the comma separates them. So let's take this one over and run it through Flux, which is a great way to generate AI images very quickly and at reasonably good cost. I'm using the Pro Ultra, and it's about 6 cents per image. If you want really hyper-realistic images, this is the model to use. Up to 4 megapixels, and use RAW mode down here to make it less processed, less AI looking. So we'll paste in our prompt. Now, when you use replicate, even though we've put in aspect 16 by 9 here, it's got a hard setting for it, so you'll have to actually select it. Okay, so what we asked for was a family gathered around the fire with a pizza oven and a modern grill nearby. So I'm not sure we got the pizza oven, but I see the grill and the fireplace, which looks pretty good. And the background is a stone outdoor fireplace with a cedar pergola and string lights glowing in the twilight. And so we have that. That looks really good. They look a little bit disconnected, but I think we can be forgiven for that because you can't really tell in the dark what they're supposedly connected to. So I think that's fine. Otherwise, like, that's a pretty solid image. I think that's pretty good. And so that cost us 6 cents, and we just pasted in the article, and it generated these. Now, the more realistic and the more humans and the more tools and things that are involved, doesn't matter what your prompt does. AI is not great with those kind of details. So avoid those as much as possible. And if you get stuck on a prompt, like the other example here wasn't working all that great, this one, you may just have to tweak the prompt ever so slightly, if you care. In some cases, if you're just pumping out massive amounts of AI content, you probably don't care. If this is for professional use on a client's blog or something, it might make a difference. So actually, this is pretty good this time. The pergola is a little weird. It's got like these big open areas instead of the tight slats. So that's a little strange, but maybe you get away with this if you cropped it the right way. It's got all the other details that we were looking for, but let's say that you didn't like the way the motorized shade screens look. Okay, well, that's fine. Easy enough to simplify this. Yeah, this is great. This is perfect. Yeah, so there you go. Run it a couple times and you'll get an image that's good off of these. And you can set it to have however many images you want, and it'll do most of the work of generating the images for your blog post. Now, for replicate, you simply have to create an account. If you use all of your credits, you pay a little bit more or whatever to, you top off your account, basically. It's only like 4 or 6 cents per image that you generate. So even if you have to spend, 20 cents on an image for realism purposes, that's not terrible. And for anything that's illustrated or abstract or whatever, it'll usually know it right away. You can use the cheaper model or the Schnell model to make it even cheaper than that. We've got some options here. There it is. There's the official one. So $3 per 1,000 images, right? Super, super, super cheap. We paste the same thing in there though, you'll see the difference in the image quality. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. There's a few artifacts. That's not terrible. So it depends on what your tolerance level is. If you need them to be completely artifact free, you probably want to move to ultra if you need the realistic image. And if you just need simple images, Schnell's a great model, but the prompt will work either way. And I have made this prompt available in the email that went out and in the YouTube description below the video. And I think I'm going to work on building out a service to do this. If you like that idea, let me know.